The nightmare with all these injuries might finally be coming to an end. And there's some real hope at the end of the tunnel that's got the whole Commanders nation holding their breath. As the team gets ready to face our most hated rivals, some insider info just leaked out that could completely change this season's outlook. But that's not all, because the front office might be getting an unexpected compensation that nobody saw coming, and those draft projections for 2026 already have a name stirring up controversy. 3 bombshell stories you can't miss, because every one of these is going to have a direct impact on our franchise's immediate future. If you're a real diehard, stick around till the very end. What's coming is going to leave you speechless. The news that's got everybody on edge just dropped, and let me tell you, this could be the turning point we've all been waiting for. Terry McLaurin, our star receiver, the guy who's been a nightmare for every defense since he came into this league, just might be coming back right when we need it most. And honestly, is there any better moment for Scary Terry to return than against those damn Cowboys in their own house? According to Tom Pelissero from NFL Network, McLaurin's got a real shot to return to the field in Week 7 against Dallas. And let me make this clear, this isn't some cheap rumor or lazy speculation. This is info coming straight from one of the most reliable sources in the NFL game. The fact that the team never put him on injured reserve tells you everything you need to know about what they were thinking from the start. The way I see it, keeping him off that list was totally a calculated, strategic move. The medical staff knew exactly what they were doing. They had a plan since day one, and that plan always included bringing him back within that 4-week window. Why else would you risk a roster spot if you didn't trust his recovery? McLaurin's been dealing with a quad and hip issue that's kept him out 3 games in a row. For a player who's historically been the definition of durable and reliable, it's been frustrating not just for him, but for the whole organization and fan base. The dude has missed as many games this season as he did in his first 6 years combined. Let that sink in for a second. We're talking about a true pro who just doesn't miss games. Not having McLaurin around forced the offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, to switch up his offensive scheme in ways he probably never even dreamed about when he took this job. And honestly, Kingsbury's done an outstanding job rolling with the punches. He's found creative ways to move the ball and keep the offense producing without his most lethal weapon. But let's be real, it's just not the same. Noah Brown's had his own health problems and hasn't seen the field since week 2. Deebo Samuel Sr. is gutting it out through obvious pain, which is admirable, but also a long-term concern. The receiver room's been wrecked by injuries, and it's put extra pressure on guys who honestly weren't ready to be thrust into such big roles so soon. So now the real question is, what does getting Terry McLaurin back truly mean? It isn't just about stats or box scores, even though those matter too. It's about leadership. About having a veteran on the field everybody believes in when it's crunch time. It's about having a guy who's been through all the big moments and knows exactly how to respond. The connection between Jaden Daniels and McLaurin has been special since day 1 in training camp. The chemistry they built is undeniable, and honestly, we're just scratching the surface of what they can do together. Daniels has shown maturity way beyond his years, but getting his number 1 weapon back is only going to take things to a whole new level. And the timing couldn't be better. The Commanders are going to face the Dallas Cowboys down in Arlington, and that game always carries massive weight, no matter what the records are. That rivalry is bigger than just one season. And let me tell you, there's nothing the Cowboys hate more than seeing Terry McLaurin lining up against their secondary. These next 2 days of practice are going to be absolutely crucial. The medical staff's going to be watching every route, every sprint, every cut McLaurin makes at practice. If he looks healthy, if he can plant and cut without hesitation, speed up and slow down with no restrictions, then he'll get the green light to play. Truly believe McLaurin wants to be out there. I know his mentality. I know that drive. This guy hates missing games, especially when it's against Dallas. But he's also smart and professional enough not to risk his long-term health for a single game. No matter how big it is, the organization isn't in the business of taking unnecessary risks with its superstars either. Dan Quinn and his staff have shown that player health and safety come first always. They're not going to push McLAURIN back if there's any real question about him being able to perform or about aggravating the injury. But let me tell you, if Terry McLaurin hits that field on Sunday against the Cowboys, everything changes. The entire offensive dynamic flips instantly. Suddenly, Kingsbury's got all his weapons back. Suddenly, opposing defenses have to respect the whole field again. Suddenly, Jaden Daniels has his dude out there running routes. So I gotta ask, are you ready to see Scary Terry do his thing at NT Stadium? Because I am. And if he's healthy, I honestly think he's about to remind everyone why he's one of the most dangerous receivers in the league. Cowboys better get ready. There's a storm coming. All right, let's talk about something most fans probably didn't even know was possible, but could end up being a blessing in disguise while we're fighting through all these injuries. That brutal injury that knocked Deatrich Wise out for the year in Game 2 might actually land the Commanders some extra draft compensation. And in this league, you gotta grab every chance you can to stack up draft capital because you never know when you'll need it. Wise came to Washington in free agency with big expectations. It was one of those quiet, smart moves Adam Peters pulled off this past offseason. Not exactly a flashy signing, not grabbing all the headlines, but exactly the kind of steady veteran this defense needed. An experienced, productive edge rusher. Someone who could step right in and make plays. But then Game 2 hit, and everything fell apart. Wise got hurt, not just missing the rest of that game, but having his entire season ended before it really started. Huge blow for the defense and for Wise, who just joined a new team and wanted badly to prove himself. Now, here's the bit most people don't get about NFL compensatory pick rules. When a guy you sign in free agency suffers a season-ending injury really early in the year, like Wise in Week 2, that player might not even count as a qualifying free agent. And why does that matter? Because the Commanders also lost Dante Fowler to the Dallas Cowboys this spring. Under normal compensatory rules, you have to balance out the free agent's loss and gain. But if Wise is taken out of the equation because of that injury, it means the Commanders lost more qualifying free agents than they picked. Current over-the-cap projections have the Commanders getting a compensatory pick in the 6th round of the 2026 draft due to losing Fowler. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. 6th round. That's not super exciting. But trust me, every single pick matters. Every shot you get to add young, cheap talent is huge. Especially when you're building something long-term. What round your pick lands in depends mostly on a couple of things. How big the player's new contract is, and how much they play for their new team. Awards and individual honors even factor in. So right now, we're looking at a 6th rounder because of how Fowler's playing in Dallas. But all that could swing, depending on how he finishes his season. If Fowler blows up in the second half, racks up sacks, makes the Pro Bowl, or gets some other award, that pick might jump up. But if his production dips or he gets hurt and misses time, that pick could drop or disappear completely. It's a moving target until the regular season wraps up. It's also key to look at the Commanders' bigger draft picture for 2026. As it stands, they have a 1st, a 3rd, a 5th, 2 6th, and a 7th. You'll notice no 2nd or 4th rounders, because those were shipped to the Houston Texans for Laramie Tunsil. That's the price Adam Peters paid to lock down an elite left tackle who can protect Jaden Daniels for years. But that's the beauty of having a sharp GM like Peters. That extra 6th round pick I mentioned, it actually came in the Brian Robinson Jr. trade. So even when you're dealing picks to get proven players, you're finding ways to replace those assets in other deals. Now, here's the downside. Nothing is simple with these comp picks. The NFL only hands out 32 compensatory picks total each year. That means some teams who technically qualify just get left out because there aren't enough picks to go around. So, where do the Commanders fall in all this? This is where Fowler's performance is crucial. If he has a strong season in Dallas, the Commanders move up the queue and have a better shot at one of those 32 picks. But if his year's just okay, or other teams have stronger cases, Washington could end up left out entirely. My take. There's about a 70% shot the Commanders do snag that sixth rounder. The projections right now look good, and Fowler's playing well enough to justify it. But, again, there's a ton of football left, and a lot can change in a hurry. Also, don't overlook what could happen at the trade deadline. Commanders could be buyers if they think they're just a piece or two away from being true contenders. Or they might be sellers if they decide some veterans don't fit the long-term plan. Any move they make impacts future draft capital and flexibility. Adam Peters has shown he's aggressive, but smart when it comes to roster building. He's not afraid to make bold moves like the Tunsil deal, but he's not handing away assets with no plan. Every move is about maximizing value and putting the franchise in a spot for sustained success. And one more thing, that possible comp pick could be used in all kinds of ways. Maybe you bundle it to move up if there's a guy Peters and the scouting staff love. Use it on a developmental prospect in the late rounds, or use it as trade currency on draft day itself. Losing Wise was rough, and it's still a hit for the defense's depth. But if the Commanders can squeeze even a little silver lining in the form of extra draft help, you have to take that. In this league, you have to turn negatives into positives every chance you get. Now let's look ahead, because while we're all focused on making this year's playoff push, the really good teams are always thinking a few moves down the road. And according to the latest mock draft from CBS Sports' Ryan Wilson, there's a college wide receiver that the Commanders should absolutely have on their radar for round 1 in 2020-6. Denzel Boston out of Washington Huskies is the name. And let me just say, this prospect has exactly the kind of physical profile and skill set that would fit perfectly in what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do on offense. We're talking about a big, physical receiver with a huge catch radius who can create matchups all over the field. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. We've got Terry McLaurin. We just traded for Deebo Samuel. So, why spend a first rounder on another receiver? That's a fair question. Deserves a real answer. The reality is Noah Brown, for as much respect as he's earned, just isn't someone you can depend on from a health standpoint. His offseason was derailed by knee issues. He hasn't played since week 2, and there's a real shot this is his last season in Washington if he can't stay healthy. And I have to ask, can you really build a championship roster around guys you can't rely on to stay on the field? Boston brings something different to that receiver group. He's over 6'3", has legit speed to pull away and hit top gear in just a few steps. But he's more than just a deep threat. This guy can run precise routes at every level, creating headaches for defenses wherever you line him up. Wilson specifically called out Boston's skills in contested catch situations. In the red zone, where space gets tight and you have to win those one-on-ones, Boston's got the size, strength, and hands to come out on top. And that's exactly the kind of weapon Jaden Daniels needs as he keeps developing at QB. Let's keep it real. A lot can change between now and the 2026 draft. Team needs will shift depending on how this season ends, who leaves in free agency, which vets are back. And if Kingsbury gets head coach offers, which is totally possible given his track record, you could be looking at a new offensive coordinator with a whole new vision. But if the Commanders are in a spot to take a first-round receiver and Boston's there, you have to give his resume a serious look. He does everything Noah Brown brings, plus more speed, more athleticism, and a much higher ceiling. So how valuable would it be for Jaden Daniels to have a receiver who can win deep, win in contested catches, win in the red zone, and create after the catch? That's exactly what Boston can do at his best. He's the definition of a complete receiver, with no clear weaknesses in his game. Still, you've also got to think about other potential needs. Pass rush is always a premium in the modern NFL, and the Commanders could use a young, Dynamic edge rusher who can grow with the rest of this core. Cornerback's another spot where you never have enough quality talent in this league. Finding a long-term replacement for Bobby Wagner is another box Adam Peters needs to check. Wagner's been fantastic and is a huge leader, but he's a vet. He's not going to play forever. At some point, they'll need to identify his successor and start that transition. In the end, I think it comes down to how the draft board falls. If Boston's clearly the best player available, you've got to pull the trigger. Your draft philosophy should always be best player over need, especially in the first, where you're banking on getting an instant starter and a long-term impact guy. Boston's versatility is especially intriguing. While he's mostly an outside threat, his size and strength mean he could cause big problems from the slot too. That flexibility will give Kingsbury or whoever the OC is plenty of ways to scheme up mismatches. Just picture it. You could have sets with McLAURIN outside, Samuel in motion, and Boston causing fits from all over. That is a nightmare for defensive coordinators who already stay up late worrying about Jaden Daniels. And don't forget, this move isn't just about this season or even next year. This is about building a championship window that lasts 5, 6, 7 years. McLaurin's going to turn 31 next season. Samuel's pushing his late 20s. Eventually, you need that next young, elite receiver ready to grab the torch. Boston could be that guy. He's got the pedigree, the college numbers, the tools. The question is, can he take that next step to the NFL? And will the Commanders be able to make the right call when their turn comes up? Obviously, every draft prospect comes with risks. Guys who look like superstars on college tape don't always make the leap in the pros. The jump in competition is massive, and not everyone can handle it. But from what we've seen so far with Boston, there's real reason to be optimistic about his chances. The college season still has a long way to go. We'll see how Boston stacks up against top competition in big-time games in all kinds of situations. All that'll be picked apart by NFL scouts trying to figure out his real value. But if he keeps balling out like this, he'll stay firmly in the first round CONVO. So I gotta ask you one more time. If the Commanders have a shot to add a receiver like Denzel Boston to an offense that already features Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and Deebo Samuel, how do you say no to that? That's the kind of move that could turn a good offense into a great one for years to come. Look, these three stories are all tied together by a common thread: the future of this franchise. It's about the possible return of our star receiver, the draft pick flexibility we'll need to keep building, and a prospect who might be the next great playmaker in this offense. It's all connected. Every bit of it. So let me ask you straight up. What do you think about the chance of Terry McLaurin being back against the Cowboys? Do you think he's ready, or does he need more time? Is it worth the risk to bring him back on a short week against our biggest rival? And your thoughts on the Wise injury comp pick. Is it enough? Should the Commanders get aggressive at the trade deadline, add pieces now, or just trust the draft process for the future? There are good arguments on both sides. And finally, the Denzel Boston rumor. Is wide receiver the right move in round 1 of 2026? Or are there bigger needs that have got to come first? Do you trust Noah Brown to stay healthy? Or is it time to plan for his replacement? None of these are easy questions, and there's no clear right or wrong answer. That's exactly why I need you to jump in with your takes in the comments right now. I want to hear what Commanders Nation thinks about these situations. Because at the end of the day, this is about us. This is our family, our community, our team. If you made it this far, it means you care about this team as much as I do. You're invested, not just in this season, but in the future of this franchise for years to come. And that's exactly the kind of fan we need on this channel. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a Commanders update. And more important, drop your honest thoughts down below about this news. This channel isn't just about news and takes. It's a place for passionate fans who live and breathe burgundy and gold. It's a space where we can debate, discuss, and sometimes disagree, but always with respect and love for the team we all share. We're going to be here every single day bringing you the latest, deepest analysis and the realest opinions about everything Washington Commanders. But I need you here with me, joining in, making this a true two-way conversation. Because at the end of the day, we're family. And families stick together through thick and thin. It's been a tough stretch with all these injuries, but it's also shown the resilience of this squad and this fan base. So join this family. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Drop your comments. Share this video with any Commanders fans you know. Let's build this community together. The more we are, the louder our voice gets. And remember, hail to the Redskins!